let's talk literary elements. So literary elements are just all the pieces that make up a story, okay? You've been learning about literary elements since forever, but the basics of it are the characters, the setting, the plot, and the important events. So let's dig into this a little more. The characters. Those are the people and animals in a story. When you're reading, you should think about what do they say and think? What do they do? And what do other characters say and think about them? So, our story, you can think back to who the characters are, who the main characters are. You did that a little bit yesterday where you wrote down some details about the main characters. Then you have our setting. It's where and when the story takes place. This is very important, especially with historical fiction, because the time and place are what make the story important. So when and where the story takes place is what creates the story itself. This is back in the West, whatever, the Wild West, during pioneer life back in 1840. That setting is what makes what they're doing makes sense. Then you can think about the plot. Okay, we've talked about plot before. We have our exposition that introduces our characters and the setting. We have our rising action where we have all those important events. We have our conflict, which comes in the exposition usually, or the rising action. And the conflict is the main problem that the characters face. Then we have our climax, the most exciting, crazy part of the story where things start to happen, our falling action, and finally our resolution. That's how the conflict or problem is solved. All the events or anything that happens in the story, the reason the author puts events in the story is to change a character, to affect the mood, or to build up the plot. Authors are very, very intentional whenever they are writing a story. They want to make sure that their readers understand what's happening to their characters, and so they use events to do this. So today you're going to do two things. You're going to answer some questions about plot. It says, as you read, complete the graphic organizer. Take notes about the important characters, the setting, where and when the story takes place, and the plot, which is the story event. So the main problem is given. The main problem is that Willie does not feel like his family contributions are important. So I want you to write down whatever important story events happened, at least 3 or 4, and then how the problem ends up being solved. When you're finished with that, you can work with your vocabulary and do this vocabulary match to make sure you understand all the vocabulary words for this week. And as long as you've read the full story, that is all we're doing for today.